In the late 1960s, a shadowy figure emerged in Northern California, forever etching his name in the annals of America's most chilling crime stories. This is the story of the Zodiac Killer, a name that still sends shivers down the spines of those who remember the terror he unleashed. The Zodiac Killer is one of America's most infamous and dangerous criminals, a man who claimed the lives of at least 5 people, taunted the police with cryptic letters, and remains unidentified to this day. This is the story of a killer who turned murder into a twisted game. It was 1968 in Northern California, a time of social upheaval, free love, and the Vietnam War. But as the nation grappled with these issues, a far more sinister threat was lurking in the shadows. The Zodiac's first confirmed attack occurred on December 20, 1968, when David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen were brutally murdered while on a date. It was a crime that stunned the quiet community of Vallejo, but it was just the beginning. In July 1969, the Zodiac struck again, killing Darlene Ferrin and injuring Michael Mageau in a parking lot. Shortly after, the killer sent his first of many letters to local newspapers, beginning a correspondence that would terrorize the public and frustrate law enforcement. He claimed to have killed as many as 37 people, although only 7 of his victims are confirmed. But it wasn't just the murders that made the Zodiac so terrifying, it was his taunts, his cryptic letters filled with ciphers, and his ability to disappear into thin air. On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac struck again at Lake Berryessa. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were relaxing by the lake when a man approached them wearing an executioner-style hood and a symbol resembling a crosshair on his chest. He tied them up and stabbed them repeatedly, carving his symbol into Hartnell's car door before fleeing the scene. 2 weeks later, the Zodiac killed again in San Francisco, shooting cab driver Paul Stein in the upscale neighborhood of Presidio Heights. This time, the killer was seen by witnesses, but despite a police sketch, he managed to evade capture. What made the Zodiac unique wasn't just his brutality, but his psychological warfare. He sent taunting letters to the press, including ciphers that he claimed would reveal his identity if solved. Despite the best efforts of cryptographers, law enforcement, and amateur sleuths, some of these ciphers remain unsolved to this day. The Zodiac case became one of the most frustrating investigations in American history. Despite numerous suspects and thousands of tips, the killer was never caught. The closest the police came was in October 1969, when officers responding to the Paul Stein murder unknowingly encountered the killer walking away from the crime scene. Due to a miscommunication, they let him go. Over the years, several suspects have emerged, including Arthur Lee Allen, who many believe was the Zodiac. However, there was never enough evidence to charge him, and he died in 1992. DNA testing in the early 2000s ruled out Allen, leaving the case as cold as ever. The Zodiac Killer's reign of terror officially ended in 1974, after his last confirmed letter, but his legacy lives on. His crimes have inspired countless books, movies, and even amateur investigators who still hope to solve the case. Despite numerous theories, the true identity of the Zodiac remains a mystery. The Zodiac's ability to outwit the authorities, combined with his cryptic communications, turned him into a dark figure of fascination, a symbol of fear that has endured for decades. He showed the world that sometimes, the scariest monsters are the ones who walk among us. In the annals of American crime, few cases are as perplexing and terrifying as that of the Zodiac Killer. He was a man who thrived on fear, who played a deadly game with the police and the public, and who disappeared without a trace. As we close the book on this chapter, we're left with one lingering question: who was the Zodiac Killer? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping crime stories from across the nation. And as always, stay safe.